Welcome to season 3 of Adventures in Compliance. In this season, we are reviewing all of the Sherlock Holmes stories, which are collected in the work, The Return of Sherlock Holmes. It is a collection of 13 detective stories written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, marking the reappearance of the brilliant detective Sherlock Holmes after his apparent death in The Final Problem, which ended season 2 and was the last story in the memoirs of Sherlock Holmes. The collection spans various intriguing cases and mysteries that Holmes and his loyal friend Dr. Watson tackle. First, a word from this month's sponsor of the Compliance Podcast Network, Ethico.
In the intricate world of ethics and compliance, each second is precious, and slow case closures are more than just delays, they're missed opportunities. Enter Ethico. Our solution revolutionizes case management, cutting case closure times in half and turning every challenge into a chance for improvement. Imagine a workspace where efficiency and compliance coexist harmoniously. Don't just dream of faster resolutions, make it your reality. Visit ethico.com/CPN today to book a demo and dive into our exclusive white paper by Tom Fox, 2023, The Year in Compliance. Empower your team with the tools they deserve.
Today we're going to take up the adventure of the Six Napoleons, but I'm going to go in a little bit different direction in my analysis because in addition to the compliance lessons learned, I'm going to take a bit of a deep dive into some of the data analytics issues from this great story. If you enjoyed this episode, you've enjoyed this series, or you just like stories about Sherlock Holmes, I hope you will subscribe or rate and review to this podcast, wherever great podcasts are listened to. I think as all readers of Sherlock Holmes know, that Inspector Lestrade is frequently regarded among Holmes' closest allies and one of the most reoccurring characters like Mycroft and Moriarty. Yet his actual appearances in the original stories are very limited, and this is the last in which he plays a personal role. Subsequent mentions will be just that, either offhand references to him of one of Scotland Yard's finest or some type of retrospective from Holmes. For the mystery he brings to Holmes is scarcely one of national or even local importance. Someone is wandering around town smashing plaster busts of Napoleon, a crime that in the eyes of those who own the bust, but as for Englishmen, maybe perhaps not so much. But a riddle demanding the keenest detective brain in the land. Really? It's often against the most apparently mundane problems that gives Holmes' brain its most vigorous exercise. And Holmes swiftly dismisses the claim that, or at least Lestrade's belief, that it's someone who hates Napoleon. Men still lived whose fathers had fought against the Frenchmen, and their lives had taken inexorable turns from him, yet Holmes looks beyond the obvious facts to those that underlie the crimes in question. Each of the busts had been sold from the same shop. Each was made from the same mold. Even before Lestrade returned to 221B to report the startling developments, another bust was destroyed, accompanied by an unsolved murder at the same location, and Holmes suspected more than simply a historical grudge. Did Holmes' memory flash back to the case of the Christmas goose? What about Conan Doyle's? Either way, it prevented a very delicious mystery for the detective. This is one of the least intriguing cases of the canon, yet it's transformed by Holmes' realization that a precious jewel, the long-lost black pearl of the Borgias, is secreted within one of the busts. It is simply the criminal's bad luck that out of the 6 possible busts in which it could be found, he found it in, or was found rather, in the 6th and final one. And that was because Holmes purchased the bust, and he uses this to crack the case. No pun intended. So the routine and the mundane really turn into something that is a very interesting mystery, and that's why I like this one so much. Just some of the compliance lessons from the adventure of the Six Napoleons. Anyone who's ever heard me speak knows I say the 3 most important things about any compliance program is document. The same is true in Sherlock Holmes, but it's also document verification. So you need to verify the authenticity of documents before taking action. In this story, Sherlock Holmes recognizes the importance of verifying the authenticity of the Napoleonic bust before jumping to conclusions about the case. 2. Attention to detail. Obviously, this is significant for every compliance professional. Holmes is able to solve this case by noticing small details that others overlook. In compliance, overlooking even the smallest details can lead to significant issues. 3. Persistence. If there's one characteristic every compliance officer needs, it's persistence. Persistence pays off. Despite initial setbacks, Holmes remains persistent in his investigation, ultimately leading to the resolution of the case. Similarly, compliance requires persistence and perseverance in ensuring that your compliance program is followed. 4. Follow procedures. Follow your protocols. Even compliance has protocols. Think of your investigative protocol. Follow a systematic approach to every incident that comes in, whether it's the triage phase, the investigative phase, the report writing phase, or the remediation phase. Rely on the evidence and logical deductions rather than making assumptions. Following your compliance protocols will lead to at least an established set of outcomes. 5. Collaboration. Obviously, compliance does not exist in a vacuum, and we've talked about collaboration through several of these Sherlock Holmes stories. And Holmes works closely with Inspector Lestrade and others to gather information and solve a case, and you need to as well, as a compliance effort does require collaboration between different departments and different stakeholders. And then number 6, what are the ethical standards of your company? So uphold those ethical standards. Holmes always demonstrates a commitment to justice and ethical conduct. Compliance professionals must prioritize and emphasize ethical behavior and actions, integrity in their actions as well as your organizations. What about some of the data analytics lessons? I think I'm going to start exploring these more because I find that everything old is new again or everything new is old again. I'm not quite sure. Number 1, pattern recognition. This is where data analytics plays a big role in compliance, as Holmes uses pattern recognition to help solve the case. Obviously, data analytics can recognize patterns in data to provide insights, identify trends or anomalies, what we would call red flags. 2. Data visualization. Sherlock Holmes uses visualized data in his mind's eye to draw conclusions. Data visualizations can make complex data more accessible and facilitate better understanding and decision-making for not only your compliance program, but for those you're talking to about compliance. And here I'm thinking of senior management and the board of directors. Number 3, correlation versus causation. Holmes distinguishes between correlation and causation when analyzing evidence. With data analytics, it's crucial to understand that correlation does not imply causation and to carefully consider other factors that may influence the relationship between the variables. Number 4, predictive modeling. Holmes uses deductive reasoning to make predictions about the case's outcome. With data analytics, predictive modeling can be employed to forecast future trends or events based on historical data patterns. Here you can think of GTE spending or other similar continuous data. Number 5, the quality of your data. This is not something we talk about enough in compliance, but you have to have accurate and reliable data to draw conclusions. Ensuring your data quality is essential to obtaining trustworthy insights and avoid drawing incorrect conclusions of your data quality. And finally, number 6, continuous learning and adaptation. Once again, this is a critical element for every compliance professional because as Holmes continually gathers new evidence and adapts his theories based on the information available to him. In data analytics, adopting a mindset of continuous learning and adaptation is crucial to staying ahead with new techniques and methodologies, particularly in the area of data analytics. Compliance Podcast Network is sponsored this month by Ethico. Ethico is a leader for compliance champions like yourself with its ethics and compliance optimization system built to turn goals and guidelines into real ROI for your program. For more information and a special white paper, go to ethico.com/CPN. I hope you will join me through this entire series of short stories from the return of Sherlock Holmes. If you're a Holmes fan or you enjoy analogizing to compliance, leadership, and ethics, this is the podcast series for you. I hope you will take the opportunity to reread one or perhaps all of the short stories. They're short reads and a lot of fun. I'm going to be taking a deep dive into each one of them, looking at leadership lessons, ethical lessons, and or compliance lessons from each one. If you're a Sherlock Holmes aficionado like myself, I'd love to visit with you about some of your favorite stories and perhaps record a podcast or two with you on them. So please contact me. You can reach me through the website of the Compliance Podcast Network. Adventures in Compliance is a special production of the Compliance Podcast Network. And as I mentioned, we are sponsored this month by Ethico. So I hope you will check out the Ethico white paper that's available through their special link that we put in the show notes that I mentioned earlier. This is Tom Fox. I'm greatly looking forward to the return of Sherlock Holmes.